welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into, well, a really significant power play that's happening, like right now, in the world of artificial intelligence. It's huge, a massive strategic move, and it's being led by a name you definitely know.
Indeed. We're unpacking Mark Zuckerberg's incredibly ambitious push into superintelligence. And it's all centered around the creation of the Meta Superintelligence Lab.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to dissect the strategy behind what looks like unprecedented spending by Meta, right, in this intense talent war it's kicked off, and maybe figure out what it all means for the future of AI and, for you listening.
Exactly. And just so you know, all our insights for this deep dive, they're coming from a close reading of a really fascinating article called Zuckerberg's $2.5 billion AI power play. It gives a very detailed look at this whole shift.
Okay, so let's dive in. The scale first. Zuckerberg's initiative. It's described as incredibly aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. He's basically launched this major initiative to put Meta right at the very forefront of AI development. And the target is specific and, frankly, kind of mind-blowing. Superintelligence.
Superintelligence, not just AGI. Artificial general intelligence, which we hear about a lot. This is something else.
It's positioned as a step beyond AGI, yeah. A significant step.
And the scale means money, obviously.
Yeah.
Big money. The article mentions over $18 billion just for talent and infrastructure.
That's the figure, yeah. Over $18 billion committed. It's pretty staggering when you think about it.
And a huge chunk of that, $2.5 billion, was just to hire, 8 researchers?
It's just 8 elite AI researchers, which, averages out to about $300 million per person.
Oh.
That alone tells you something about how valuable these individuals are seen to be.
Wow.
And it's worth noting, many of these weren't just any researchers. They were like founding engineers behind huge models like ChatGPT and GPT 4.5, the real heavy hitters.
So the core team behind the competition, essentially. And it wasn't just people, right? There was also this huge investment in Scale AI.
That's right. Another $15 billion went into Scale AI, which gave Meta something like a 49% stake. So you're right. It's not just about grabbing the smartest minds. It's also about securing the essential infrastructure, the data pipelines, all that crucial back-end stuff.
Which brings us to this new lab, the Meta Superintelligence Labs. What's its official mission?
The stated mission is, well, it's incredibly clear and just as ambitious as the spending suggests. It's to develop personal superintelligence for everyone.
Personal superintelligence. Okay, that phrase really jumps out. And who's leading this effort? They must have brought in some top names.
They absolutely have. Alexander Wang, the founder of Scale AI, he's now the chief AI officer.
That makes sense with the investment.
Yeah. And Nat Friedman, who co-founded GitHub, he's also on board. And there are these pretty strong rumors swirling that Daniel Gross, who co-founded Safe Superintelligence, SSI, he might be part of this team too.
Interesting.
And what's really strategic here is how this new lab basically pulls together all of Meta's existing AI work. FAIR, their fundamental research group, their foundation models. It's all consolidated now, centralized into this one powerhouse.
Okay, so consolidating everything.
Yeah.
What does that signal strategically? Is it just efficiency or something more?
Well, it's definitely about focus, laser focus, really, and accelerating things. Their entire aim now seems to be building the next generation of models.
The superintelligence model.
Exactly. Not just trying to maybe hit AGI, but going straight for this idea of superintelligence, which, again, the definition they seem to be using is AI that's better than humans across, every single domain of intelligence. It's a huge conceptual leap for them.
It really is. And it's particularly striking because, as the article points out just a few months ago, Meta was seen as, kind of lagging behind.
Oh, definitely lagging. Their previous big models, remember Behemoth, Maverick, Scout, they just didn't really stack up against the leaders like OpenAI or DeepSeek.
Yeah, I remember Behemoth was talked about, but then nothing.
Exactly, and never even launched. And Scout and Maverick, they were out there, but they got outperformed pretty quickly. So yeah, that recent history makes this current aggression even more dramatic. It really underscores this radical shift in strategy from Zuckerberg.
So given that underperformance, what was the pivot? What did Zuck actually do?
Well, this is the really interesting part, I think. Instead of just, trying harder with the same internal approach that wasn't quite working, the strategy shifted. It basically became, if our models aren't winning, let's go buy the people who can build winning models.
Right. A total pivot to just grabbing the talent.
Exactly. It's a real power move. Very pragmatic, you could say. Forget catching up slowly. Let's just acquire the capability to leapfrog.
And the way they did it, the article calls it an NBA-style draft of AI elite. Which sounds intense.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg personally calling people.
Yeah, apparently he was personally involved, making calls, courting these researchers, even hosting them at his home. It wasn't your standard recruitment process.
I guess that speaks to how few people can actually do this kind of work.
Absolutely. It highlights the extreme scarcity we talked about. And the offers reflected that. Rumors are, $100 million sign-on bonuses. Total packages potentially hitting $300 million per person.
Just incredible numbers.
It's not just a salary, right? It's statement, a valuation.
And it wasn't like buying a company. It was buying individuals.
Yeah.
Specific human capital.
Precisely. And many of these hires, they're pioneers in reinforcement learning, which is, basically how AI learns through trial and error, rewards and penalties. They've helped to build the foundational reasoning frameworks in modern AI. The article mentions Trapit Bansal specifically for his work here.
The timing on this. It's almost like something out of a movie. This all happened just weeks after Sam Altman at OpenAI had publicly said nobody important was leaving his team.
Yeah, the timing is, let's say, quite pointed. And the article gives us a glimpse inside OpenAI's reaction. Apparently, there was a really strong, visceral reaction to these people leaving. Yeah, an internal memo from a leader, just identified as Chen, apparently described it like someone broke into our home and stole something.
Wow. That's strong language. Really personal.
It really underscores the emotional side of this, right? The high stakes in this talent war.
And OpenAI didn't just sit back, did they? They started reacting.
No, they had to react. They reportedly started recalibrating their own compensation packages, making counteroffers to try and keep their remaining top people.
The compensation wars are on.
Absolutely. And it's not just Meta versus OpenAI. Mira Murati, who used to be OpenAI's CTO, she's started her own company now called Thinking Machines.
Oh, right.
And they are reportedly offering even higher base salaries, like over $500,000 base compared to maybe $300,000 base at OpenAI. So yeah, it's a full-blown bidding war for the absolute best minds.
It just keeps escalating, which brings us back to the core question. Why are these few individuals worth so much? What makes them this rare commodity?
It really boils down to the economics of, well, extreme scarcity. The article estimates there are maybe only about 150 AI researchers in the entire world who are actually capable of training these huge frontier models, the GPT-4 level and beyond.
Only 150 globally. That's tiny.
Astonishingly small, isn't it? Especially for a technology that everyone agrees is world-changing. And these elite few, they have this unique combination of skills. It's not just one thing.
Like what specifically?
Well, deep understanding of reinforcement learning, obviously, complex reasoning in AI, but also the ability to build the actual training infrastructure, like from scratch. They need fluency in chip-level optimization, how to tune the hardware.
Okay, so hardware and software.
Exactly. Plus the expertise in structuring and pipelining just massive amounts of data for training, which, by the way, is exactly where Scale AI, their big investment, comes into play.
Got it.
The article uses a great analogy. This kind of talent is rarer than Olympic gold medalists. So when you hear Meta might be paying, effectively over $1 billion per researcher, if you count everything. Yeah. It sounds crazy, but it's maybe a rational, strategic move to acquire this incredibly scarce, vital resource.
Rarer than Olympic gold medalists.
Yeah.
That really puts it in perspective. And while we're talking shifts, the article makes another interesting point about language. It says the term AGI, artificial general intelligence, is kind of becoming fuzzy, falling out of favor.
Yeah, it seems so. AGI was the goal for a long time, right? Generally seen as achieving human-level intelligence. But maybe it's too vague, or maybe the goalposts keep shifting.
So what's replacing it?
Superintelligence. That seems to be the new buzzword, the new strategic horizon everyone's aiming for now. And again, the definition being used is AI that exceeds human capabilities, not just matches them, but exceeds them across every single domain.
So it's a much higher bar. And for Meta, adopting this term, this goal, it signals they're not just trying to catch up to OpenAI anymore. They're explicitly trying to leapfrog the entire field, setting a bolder, clearer target.
Exactly. And it seems like a big part of why they could attract this top talent, beyond just the money, comes down to culture. The article suggests there's a pretty significant psychological and cultural difference between Meta and OpenAI.
Oh, how so?
Well, Meta is apparently offering this combination of autonomy plus infrastructure, which, if you're a top researcher, sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, freedom to build your vision.
But with access to Meta's billions of users, their massive compute resources, and a direct path to actually rolling out your work into real products at scale, that's a powerful combination.
And how does that compare to OpenAI, according to the article?
OpenAI is described as maybe more structured now, a bit slower, perhaps more bureaucratic, even with the sort of split leadership between Sam Altman and Greg Brockman.
Interesting contrast.
Yeah, and Zuckerberg's style is described as this founder-led acceleration. If he decides something needs to happen, resources get deployed almost immediately. That speed, that velocity, combined with the autonomy. It seems like that was a really decisive factor in convincing these top minds to jump ship.
Okay, so pulling this all together, this massive move by Meta, by Zuckerberg, what are the big takeaways? What does this signal for the future of AI more broadly?
Well, first, I think it confirms, if confirmation were needed, that the AI talent war is now intensely billionaire funded, it's global, and the stakes are just enormous.
Right. This isn't just companies competing anymore.
No. Second, it really cements this idea of elite AI researchers being valued like, top athletes or star hedge fund managers. Their compensation is starting to reflect that scarcity and potential impact.
A new category of superstar.
Sort of, yeah. Third, it feels like we're entering a new era, moving away from purely closed-off AI systems towards more strategic integration into huge platforms, putting these powerful tools directly in front of billions of users. That's Meta's potential advantage, right? Scale.
Makes sense. And the last point.
The last point is simply that Meta is signaling very, very clearly. They are done trying to just keep up. They intend to lead. They want to reshape the field, redefine the whole game of AI development. It's a huge statement of intent from a company many had, frankly, kind of written off in the AI race until recently.
It really is a remarkable turnaround, or at least attempt at one. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's worth just pausing on the sheer scale of this. Zuckerberg's bet on superintelligence, the billions spent, the talent acquired, it's truly unprecedented.
Absolutely mind-boggling, the figures involved.
And maybe that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Given this incredibly intense billionaire-fueled race for superintelligence, given the sheer resources being poured into creating it, what does happen to society when or if a personal superintelligence actually becomes widely available? How might that redefine our whole understanding of what intelligence even is, and what kind of completely new challenges or maybe opportunities will that create for us as individuals and maybe for humanity as a whole? Something to think about.